Thank you everybody for joining Derbyshire's first Zoom branch meeting. We're a little bit behind in the technology stakes, but as I said, we finally made it. So today's branch meeting is to discuss Mpconnect. Mpconnect is a Connect card, a virtual card for hauliers and contractors, and it's something which MPQC are developing. So I'll pass you over to Laura, who will fill you in a lot more details. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Now I'm just going to see if we can share screens and I hope this works. So as Pat said, what we're going to talk about today is Mpconnect. So basically Mpconnect is a supply chain management system which has been developed by the extractive industry for the extractive industry. So Mpconnect pre-qualifies individual hauliers, contractors and companies to ensure that they have the mandatory requirements of either competencies to access a site safely. So this is to help support risk management. Mpconnect has three distinct sections within it, and these can be either viewed separately or in conjunction with each other. I'm going to go through a little bit of an overview of Mpconnect for drivers, the Mpconnect for contractors, and Mpconnect for companies. So each of these sections have their own requirements, and these have been set up by the industry, and the requirements have been set by industry working groups. So that's a group made up of everybody across the industry, all different types of people. So it's not just MPQC coming up with their ideas of what would be a good card or how those competencies work best. It is industry driven. So we'll talk a little bit about Mpconnect for drivers first. So what's the benefits? So the benefits of Mpconnect for drivers, it promotes standardization across the industry. So any driver coming to a site knows that they're going to be held to exactly the same competence and standards as everybody else entering that site. So there's no, these little guys are allowed in and you're not. Everybody knows that they're treated exactly the same. So it increases site safety. It allows the industry to upskill drivers. We can use e-learning platform to help develop improvements in safety. If individual companies want their own e-learning added to the platform, we can do that. It also gives sites real-time information on drivers' competencies. As the driver goes onto site, their card is placed on a reader and it shows them whether they're either green and all their competencies are met and they can enter site, or they're red and their competencies haven't been met. That then gives the site supervisor or the weighbridge staff the ability to decide whether they want that person to enter site and they have the requirements. So the system's constantly evolving. We're constantly adding new features. We've added new features like the geo-fencing, so that if a driver wants to not get out of the cab and walk up to the site weighbridge, they can actually use their app on their phone to use to enter site, and then the sites can see exactly real time that driver's entered site and they've hit the button that says they want to enter site. So just to give you an idea of how many cards we've currently got out. So at the moment, the current card subscription is just over 10,000. So we've got 10,324 cards in circulation. So you can subscribe in two different ways. They can do that via the Site Safety Awareness card course. Now, once you do the Site Safety Awareness course, that is mandatory that you get a card. So we've got around 5,500 people that have subscribed for their Mpconnect card through Site Safety Awareness. The other option is to go online and order your card, and that we've got around 4,800 people that have done that. So sites using the card at the moment, we've got 245 sites using the card, and the total amounts of times those cards have been blipped since we started, which was sort of January, February time last year, is around 118,000 blips in total. So you can see that there's a lot of cards that are being used on a daily basis. So the individual cards that have been blipped over the last 30 days, it's around 1,000, just over 1,000. And individual cards blipped in the last 7 days is around 788. So obviously drivers are going to site and blipping the cards every time they go into a new site or they go to a different site. So just to give you an idea, we've got an average of around 1,000 cards being blipped today. And it's averaging around between 1,000 and 900 on a daily basis. So just to give you an idea of what you would see at the weighbridge. So when a driver pulls up, puts a card on a card reader, you've got two options. So a green card, which would mean that all the requirements had been met. So the current requirements are site safety awareness. There's usually a local site induction, and there may be an induction that the company require. So if you get a green card, the person on the weighbridge can quite easily see that that person has all the requirements to enter site. If they have a red card, that means that one or more of the requirements haven't been met. So you can see here that the site safety awareness hasn't been met and they haven't done the local site induction. The local site induction can be done there and then it's just a case of clicking to say that they've done the site induction. But obviously the site safety awareness needs to be done at an MPQC training course. What we say is, if the card is red, we can't say that you don't allow them to enter site. That is down to the individual company to make that call. What we say is, this person doesn't have the requirements to enter site. If you then decide that you want them to enter site with some additional safety in place by making them be accompanied, that's down to you. But what we're saying is, if they have a red card, they haven't met the requirements. So just to give you an idea of the companies that are involved in this, we've got Cemex, Breeden, AI, Smiths of Bletchington and Hanson. They're all on board and using the cards regularly. So what are the next steps? What do we need to do to move this forward and get it used in a lot more sites? So at the moment, we really need to engage further with the industry. We need to look at ways of promoting the card with the drivers. A lot of drivers aren't hearing about it. It's not being talked about enough. So we need to look at different ways of promoting that card with the drivers. And we're in the process of setting up another focus group with which will be across the industry, and we're going to look at how can we get other training aligned on the Mpconnect card, so things that might be CPC, and we're looking at additional developments and features for the platform. As I said, the platform is constantly evolving and we're always looking at ways of improving this. It's not a standing still, we're constantly looking at ways of improving the card, which will help improve safety across the industry. So that gives you a brief snapshot and an overview of how the Mpconnect card for drivers works. So we're also developing Mpconnect for contractors. Just move to the next slide. You have to bear with me a minute. So Mpconnect for contractors, what's the benefit? So again, it's a quick and straightforward checking for competencies. So when a contractor comes to site, there might be an electrician or there might be a belt vulcanizer. Again, when they put their card on that reader, it's a quick way of seeing that individual, what their job is, what they're there to do, and what their competencies are, and that they also meet the industry standards. So at the moment, the only industry requirement we have is the mineral sector safety passport. So that individual would upload all their relevant documents onto MPQC site, and we would then verify that their competencies were suitable for them to enter a site. The Mpconnect card can be used as soon as the individual has uploaded their documents. So even if they haven't had those verified by us, the card will sit at amber. Any amber cards would mean that the person, the manager or the weighbridge person, would need to check those competencies. So they can click on a button and look to see what they've got and verify the documents themselves. And then as soon as Mpconnect has been verified, it will go green. And then that individual knows, once that card's on that reader, that all those documents have been verified and they can allow them on site. So it works in conjunction with the MPA Safer by competency group. So again, we've got involvement from industry groups. So we were looking at high risk jobs, what kind of competencies and were required, what if they got the right standards to be able to enter site. So we've been working very closely with the industry to make sure that everything that we ask for is vetted at the highest standards. So what happens when those documents come through to us? As I said, they get uploaded onto our system. We check them to ensure that they are the right cover, that they are the right person, and that they're what the right working documents for that individual. So if he's an electrician, he's uploaded verification that they're an electrician. We then go onto a full checking, so that any certificates that have been uploaded, we will check them against the provider and make sure that they are legitimate documents and that they are what they say they are. And we're also trying to get some reciprocity. What we're looking at is once the system's moved to the next phase, we will look to see if we can set up any APIs with the big awarding bodies, which will help make that it's a much quicker checking system. So what we would do is once the system was uploaded, a document had been uploaded, we'd have an API that was connected to those awarding bodies and we'd check straight away and it could go green a lot quicker. So it takes out that manual checking. Okay. So just to give you an idea of what a card for a contractor would look like. So if a contractor turns up on site and puts their card on a reader, if their card shows orange, it means that one or more of their competencies haven't been verified yet. So you can see here the basic level of competencies has been checked. It's green, so the mineral sector safety passport's green, so they wouldn't need to check that. They've also got a local CEMEX construction induction, which is green. So these guys here, these have been verified. What it's saying is that these here in amber with the little exclamation mark, they haven't been checked yet. They haven't been verified. Like I said, that doesn't mean that you can't let that person on site. What you would need to do is click on this little cloud icon and that would open the certificate so that everybody could have a look to make sure that that scaffolding certificate was good enough to allow them on site to do a scaffolding job. And again, if the ladder safety, you would click on the ladder safety, open that and make sure that you are happy. What the person at the site will need to do is check that if this person's come to do a scaffolding role, that the competencies they have here allow them to do that job. So that gives you a brief view of what it would look like if somebody came to site and put their card on a reader. Like I said, if that's amber, it doesn't stop them coming in. It just means that you guys have to check to make sure you're happy that the competencies they've got, they're allowed to come in. So after we've looked at Mpconnect for companies, for contractors, we moved on to companies. So we're vetting all the individuals, we're vetting the drivers, we're vetting the contractors. The next stage of that, the next evolution of Mpconnect was looking at companies. So not only are we looking at the individuals are vetted and competent, but the companies that they work for are also fully vetted and that everything that these guys need to get on site, like the insurances, are all clear. So eventually the whole thing will fit together. So you'll have a competent person and their company is vetted and green and you're happy that all their requirements are covered. So Mpconnect for companies is designed to rival a vetter. So if any of you guys have been using a vetter, you'll know how that works. Now, the difference is that Mpconnect for companies is designed and built for the industry, by the industry. Again, it's specifically around our requirements as an industry. It's going to be a lot easier and straightforward to use, and it'll have a pricing system which is very transparent. I know that a lot of people who have used all small companies who use a vetter have come to us and explained to us what they don't like about a vetter, how complicated it is, how they don't understand how they pay for things and the pricing system behind it. So obviously that's something we've taken on board, and we'll make sure that our system is a much easier system to use. It will also, like I said, directly link into your contractors. So if you've got your contractors loaded onto the system, their data is pulled through and can be checked for the vetting system for the companies. It stops the sites having to use workarounds when you're using small companies that maybe not be a vetter approved. I've heard stories that you need some emergency work done on a site, but you haven't had a chance to vet the company. So they've had to come around workarounds, maybe they work off site to cover that. So again, our system, Mpconnect for companies, is designed for one-man bands up to huge corporations. So it covers the whole spectrum. It will be aligned with the safer systems for procurement, so SSIP. If any of you have had anything to do with a vetter or some of the big corporations, you know that SSIP set out a pre-qualification questions, and they vet companies. So we will be vetting it in line with the SSIP requirements. So currently in talks to join SSIP. The data can be uploaded at any time and is in real time. Again, one of the issues that we've had with people using a VETA, they've said that the data is often a year behind. So as soon as something is run out or out of date, the system will alert the individuals that they need to update new documents. So those documents will always be in real time. So the data will be vetted by us here at MPQC. And we've obviously got a lot of people in the business who are industry experts, and they know exactly what people within the industry need. So we'll be vetting to a very high standard. We'll be vetting to SSIP standards, and it will be industry experts. So just to give you a quick overview of what will happen. So this just gives you an example of what the screens will look like and the type of questions. So when a company registers and they want to use Mpconnect for companies, here you can see that it'll show you how far you are down the road, how much information you've loaded up. Once you've completed, it would obviously say 100%. Now the type of things that we ask for, we'll ask for things around health and safety, we'll ask general questions around the company, we'll need to know about your insurance documents. All those documents will need to be uploaded, vetted, and make sure that they fit the criteria that we're looking for. It's really easy to upload. So here's an example. So if you're ISO registered, if the company's ISO registered, we'd also need to see, like I said, their insurances. So the things we're looking for is corporate responsibility, so around working conditions, health and safety, environmental. All those policies will be uploaded, vetted. Now, obviously, depending on the size of the company, if you're less than 5 people in a company, legally you have separate requirements. So all that's been built into the system. So the system's built, like I said, from anybody from a one-man band up to a huge corporation. And we take into account the types of information we require for all those different areas. So a small person, a one-man band, would not be asked for the same amount of data as somebody who's got 5,000 employees. So what happens now? The next steps, we're moving on to Mpconnect for companies. So we've approved a steering group to standardise the pre-qualifying questions across the industry, because what we didn't want is each company that we're using is to say they wanted different requirements and different questions. So we've got a group together and we're agreeing and standardising those questions. So the minimum standard is the SSIP, and then any additional questions that the industry want will be agreed and standardised across the industry. So like I said, we're agreeing minimum requirements, which will be around insurances, policies, that sort of thing. We've got an agreed pilot at the moment, so we're just starting with CEMEX, and we're using it with some companies then in conjunction with CEMEX. And obviously we need to get agreement that the Mpconnect for companies will be accepted as well as a VETA, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to force people into one or the other. What we want is that people have a choice and that companies have a choice of what to use. We would never say that you would only ever use Mpconnect for companies. It really needs to be a choice across the industry that both will be recognised. And also we need to look at a transition plan of how the people who are currently on a VETA, how they can move over to Mpconnect if they want to. And we're looking at ways of, if somebody's already maybe SSIP registered or they've already got a VETA stuff, how do they transition and move their documents over if they want to be able to use both without forcing them into a situation where they have to pay for both. So we're also looking at that because we want it to be a fair system and we want it to be industry standard and we want it to be at the highest standard that we can do. So that gives you a brief overview of Mpconnect for companies, for Mpconnect for contractors and Mpconnect for drivers. So all these things are helping to ensure that supply management is handled in a safe, fair way. It's industry standard and it improves those health and safety across the industry. Okay, has anyone got any questions? Is there anything anybody would like to ask? I know I've gone through that. It's quite a lot of information to take in. So me and Pat are both here, so we're both part of Mpconnect in all its entities. So happy for any questions. Everybody's really quiet. as always.
There's a lot to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So, like I said, it was a very brief overview. If anybody wants to talk to either me or Pat individually, if you've got some questions that you think fit specifically within the companies or how you work, if you want to chat to us, we're happy to do that privately. If you want to we'll go through things in a bit more depth. If you want to talk about how that might fit within your companies or how you work in the industry, we're happy to chat to you individually. If you want to drop us emails or a phone call, we can always set up a meeting and have a chat through if that was easier for everybody.
Hi Laura, Perfect from Hi. Hi Pat.
Hi Steve.
You can hear me, that's okay. Just one quick question. You said about you were looking at the guys that were already registered to a vetter. Would you be thinking of, if you're a vetter qualified or approved, then that would automatically get you Mpconnect? And if not, and going down the contractor side with our plant trainers, because they're already approved by MP Skills, would that automatically get the approvals passed over without having to send all the evidence again of their qualifications and insurances and everything else that you've already got in another part of MPQC?
Okay, so what we're trying to do is we've got, like I said, we've got a focus group together with all the majors and some smaller companies, and we're asking them what they want, and we want to try and make it as easy as possible. It may be that if they want to come across to us, they would do a minimum of, say, upload insurances, so we could see that the insurances were in date, and that way we can keep an eye on when the insurances go out of date, because the system will automatically alert somebody when the insurances are out of date. So it may be that the minimum thing is that we get them to upload their insurances, but we're still in talks to make sure that we cover everything, because we want to make it, like I said, as simple as possible for that transition over from companies that are already with a vetter. And again, if people already got stuff registered with Skills, we'll take that into account. We want to make it as straightforward and as easy as possible. If people have got, so if contractors have, if you're joining at Mpconnect as a contractor, if you've done a course with MP Skills, we can drag that across automatically. So we can pull that information across, and we don't need to vet that or audit it because it's already on our system. So we know that like you said, if somebody's a trained, trying to think of loading operator or something like that, or an assessor, we've already got that data on the system, so they don't need to upload that documentation again because we've already got it. So there will be a lot easier way, because people have stuff that are on our system and already registered, that will make life easier for them.
And you mentioned any course by MP Skills, but obviously you've got other providers. I'm assuming that any course that's been approved by MPQC will automatically go across to that person. Yeah.
That's right, Steve. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Lovely. Thanks. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Heather, you think it's better than Iveta? Thank you. That's something we've definitely, honestly, when we're talking to the guys who have used a vetter or have tried to use a vetter, they've said it was so complicated. Somebody told me it took them over 8 hours to upload all the documentation, and then a vetter kept going back to them and saying, no, that's not enough. So what we're trying to do is design the system so that we make sure that we get everything uploaded in one go. It might take a little bit of time, but the other thing is, because we are industry led and we've got close relationships with these companies, it's a lot better as well, because if there is a problem, if they haven't put something up properly, we can have that conversation with them, and it will be a personal relationship with those people to say, look, and they'll have that one person, where with a vetter, there's a lot of people asking, that they can phone, and there's a huge call center. So again, these are things that we're hoping to make improvements on, because it's a better, more personal relationship. Did somebody have their hand up then? I think, was it Steve?
Yeah, sorry, it's my fat fingers playing around with it. Sorry.
Were you getting a bit overexcited then, were you?
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, don't worry. Is there anything else?
There's another one in chat, Laura, from Graham Green. Is this presentation going to be available as a recording to share with colleagues? Do you want me to answer that one? Yeah, this is being recorded, Graham, and it'll be available in approximately 4 weeks' time after it's been approved by Laura and Pat, the final edit. and it'll be available on the Institute of Quarrying YouTube channel.
And if you wanted to, in the meantime, Graham, if you want to set up a meeting with any of your colleagues, I'm quite happy to run through it with you individually. If you want it to do quicker, we're happy to do that.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, that may be useful. We've talked about it before for hauliers, and there's been resistance until there's sort of a level of coverage. I think you've got a story to show that there is a level of coverage that's improved, and now moving in with the contractors, then that's another level that they need to be aware of. On that, and to try and sort of preempt their questions on it in terms of sort of the coverage. We're a small company, we don't necessarily use contractors that have a wide exposure to the quarrying industry. Is there any opportunity for us to have an element within the software that allows us to record local contractors that are not actually registered nationally within the whole system? So I know we can do local inductions on there, but could we record things that are, if you like, not that they haven't got the card, but we can still record that we've seen their insurance, we've still seen their training documents, pending hopefully them moving towards registering and getting the card and doing it properly?
Yeah, not at the moment, but what we could do is, if you've got the whole idea of this was to ensure that even if you've got small companies that maybe, like you said, cover several industries, which is one of the reasons why we try and align ourselves with SSIP, because they are across several industries. What we can do is maybe look at that as something, as like I said, the system's always evolving. We're always looking for different ways to make it as easy to use. So it may be something that we'd look at developing as we go along.
Thank you.
But Graham, if you want anything, just drop Pat a quick call and we can arrange a meeting with your guys if you want us to talk to them.
Yeah, have we got your contact details?
Probably what's the best contact numbers? Would it be MPQC?
Yeah. If you just phone, have you got MP skills number?
If you send an email into info@MP Awards, then we'll pick that up and then we can get back to you.
Will do, thank you.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll also, in the chat, I'll put my email address in the chat. So if anybody wants to pick my email up for that, I'll pop it in now so you can get it as well. Right, so if anyone can get into the chat, my email's in there.
Are there any more questions? Well, so on behalf of Derbyshire branch, I'd like to thank Laura for her presentation and Louise for helping us set it up, and thank you very much for attending. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hope to see some of you soon. If you want anything, give us a call. Okay.